Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, on today's episode, we are breaking down the national championship between the Georgia Bulldogs and, just as we all expected, the TCU Horned Frogs. First question for you guys. Would a TCU win make them the most unlikely national champion of the modern era? Define modern era however you'd like.
Yeah. 60 years maybe.
Either way, I think without a doubt, especially considering they're not college football royalty. It's hard to find some reliable preseason odds, but looking back to 2010 Auburn was apparently 50-1. They started the year ranked number 23. So that's crazy, but not too crazy in the grand scheme of things.
They were ranked
I know there's
preseason.
some
that's not even close,
and
right?
Texas Christian, well, by the way, this episode, I'm going to call them Texas Christian just because no one else does. But they were 200-1 or more, and they went 5-7 last year. They'd be the first team since Georgia Tech of 1990 to be unranked to then, win the title. And then if you just look at this game,
they were like 500-1, 1,000-1 some places. Like you could have found even
right.
more.
Yeah, and then if you just kind of isolate it to just this game alone, they're a 12.5 point dog. And so since the first BCS title game in 98, the biggest point spread upset since then was Ohio State when they were an 11-point dog from Miami in 2002. And Ohio State kind of controversially won that title. But that Ohio State team, that wasn't some Cinderella story. So just forgetting the whole season context, this game alone would be one of the biggest surprises in terms of game history.
Yeah, no, it's not even close. Not even close. This would be the most crazy ever. Ever since I went back, I tried to look at each year, every national champion, and their prior years, kind of leading up to that point. Trey's Auburn is certainly one of them, but they're not on the stratosphere of TCU. Auburn went 8-5 the year before, and they were expected to be pretty good, in the following season. So not them. OU in 2000, they were 7-5 in '99, but they had Josh Heupel coming back, who had a pretty darn good year in '99. So they were expected to make a jump. So that's not
and they're a blue
close.
blood, So
they're a blue blood, so it's
different.
not. Yeah, BYU in '84, they went 11-1 in '83. Like, I know they're not a blue blood, but they were really, really good already.
The fact that they're in the WAC is pretty crazy that they won the national championship, but yeah, they were very good several years running. So
yeah, Pitt in '76, they were 8-4 in the year before, but they had Tony Dorsett, and they were pretty good that year. So not even close. This would be the craziest national title winner ever.
Okay, I think I agree, but I'm going to say that it is close. I think Georgia Tech in 1990 maybe has a case as well.
You think it's close?
Well, here's why. So they were
okay.
If you just look at the 1 year before, Georgia Tech was 7-4 the year before. Okay, whereas TCU was 5-7. That is different. But in '87 and '88, Georgia Tech was a combined 0-13 in ACC play. So that's pretty crazy then to win the national championship 2 years later. Yeah. And they had one top 25 finish the previous 17 years, Georgia Tech did. Whereas TCU, it's not that long ago that Gary Patterson had them making the top 10, several years, So I think that one is somewhat close, but yeah, I think I agree with you. I think right before the season, this would be the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get to some made-up prop bets for this national championship game. Ryan, you've got the first one.
That I do. All right, guys. Who is going to have more receiving yards in this game? Wide receiver Quentin Johnston of TCU or Georgia tight end Brock Bowers? But Brock Bowers gets a little bit of a handicap. He's gets plus 15 yards.
Okay, so you've got Quentin Johnston favored there. But I'll lay those 15 yards. I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston. Just because I think there's a good chance that TCU is playing from behind in this game with of course, being a 12.5 point underdog. And I think their run game is going to have, a bit more trouble than it did against Michigan. I just think Georgia is too big and talented there. So both of those factors lead to airing it out. And when Quentin Johnston has been healthy this year, he's had a lot of monster games. Like you look, Sonny Dykes said a few weeks ago that Quentin Johnston is as healthy as he's been in quite a long time before that Big 12 title. And the 2 games since then, 139 yards and 163 against really good defenses. So I think he's capable. We saw kind of what Marvin Harrison Jr. did against this Georgia defense last week. So I think he's capable of something like that. That's why I'm going with Johnston.
Yeah, no, he's been a monster, and I know that Georgia secondary has been a little vulnerable in recent weeks, but I'm going to take the 15 with Brock Bowers. Darnell Washington, the other tight end for Georgia, might be out. Even if he's there, he's going to be limited. So more could fall on Bowers' shoulders. McConkey has been hobbled a bit as well. In the Ohio State game, Adonai Mitchell and Arian Smith had some big games, so Texas Christian might lean in on and focus in on those receivers a little bit more. So I just think that even TCU could also have, Texas Christian could have some success with Tay Barber, Darius Davis, could get some more of those receptions and take away a little bit more from Johnston. So I'm going to lean with Brock Bowers here.
I'm not sure TCU fans like the Texas Christian. I think they've been trying to get away from that, but we'll see. Let us know in the comments. It's unique.
Yeah.
It's no one does that.
Definitely
I feel like the only time I see Texas Christian is on teamrankings.com with their stats.
Yeah, you never see
they have TX Christian. So when I'm trying to control F and find TCU, it's very difficult on there. But anyway.
Yes.
Next prop bet we have over-under 3.8 yards per carry for Texas Christian. And, of course, that's including sacks.
Thank you.
So it's not just about the run game necessarily.
Right. It's not the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that Ohio State did well against this Georgia D was run with Stroud. He didn't do much of that this year. The challenge, though, in my opinion, is that Georgia wasn't necessarily totally prepared for that. They're certainly going to be prepared for Duggan's legs. And also with Kendre Miller not 100%, I'm just not overly bullish that they're going to get to the over here. So I'll lean under.
Yeah, I agree, Trey. I'm actually going to go under as well. TCU averages like 5.3 for the year, but of course that's not going up against the number 1 ranked rushing defense in Georgia every week. So they did run for 6.4 against Michigan, which was a nice game for them, no doubt. But I'll give them credit for that. But I got to put my faith in the number 1 rushing defense. I don't see them being able to run the ball well at all. I got to go with Georgia there. So under for me too.
Okay.
All right. So my prop is over under 30 pass attempts for Stetson Bennett against Texas Christian.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the over on 30 here, because just over 30, like 30.6, is his average on the season. And most of the teams he's played against aren't as good as this TCU team, meaning TCU is more likely to keep the game closer than most of the teams that Georgia has played, and making Bennett have to throw a little more. And if you actually look at even closer, so if you look at the games where Georgia has won by 3 touchdowns or less, meaning like somewhat competitive games, his average rises to 32. So, I anticipate it at least being somewhat close. So I'm going to take the over. I think they got to rely on Bennett a little more maybe than usual.
I agree with you. I'm going with the over as well. Georgia's team total in this game, if you bet it online, is over under 37.5. So that's a lot of points scored. That means probably a lot of successful drives, and probably some pretty good numbers put up by Stetson Bennett. And TCU's strategy against Michigan was, they really kind of keyed in on stopping the run and trying to force J.J. McCarthy to beat them. Now, Stetson Bennett is more proven and reliable than J.J. McCarthy, but I think they could do something similar here, not let the Georgia run game beat them, and just trust their really good corners to try and get it done. So there you go. 2 overs for Stetson Bennett pass attempts. Let's get to some bold predictions. Trey, it better be bold.
Yeah, I'm getting a little kind of clairvoyant bro feeling here.
Ooh.
I'm going to say a running back A running back will throw a touchdown pass, and I'm going to say Kenny McIntosh, Georgia's running back, he's going to throw for one and rush for one.
I like it.
Wow.
That's a good one.
That is a very good one. Yeah,
that is bold.
And teams
nice.
bring out these trick plays in
they
these
do
types of games, so that makes sense.
Good call.
All right, I'm going to go another pass attempts discussion. I'm going to say Max Duggan has 40-plus pass attempts in this game. He's only done that once all season, but my reasons for that are kind of similar to my discussion of Quentin Johnston in the receiving yards thing. I just think Georgia being able to slow down TCU's run game in a way that Michigan wasn't able to, especially with, like we mentioned earlier, Kendre Miller potentially being out. And TCU playing from behind, and just what we saw C.J. Stroud just do against this Georgia secondary. I think TCU might see that as the potential way to, if there's any way to beat Georgia's defense, great defense, maybe it's airing it out.
Yeah. No, that's solid too. All right. I'm gonna say Georgia's gonna get 5 sacks against Duggan. For reference, the nation leader in sacks this season was actually Louisville, believe it or not, and they had 3.8 per game. So to get 5, that's a big number. I don't know. I just got a feeling like it'll kind of be like last year's national title game. Georgia really got after Bryce Young, and they had 4 sacks against him. So I think they could do even better against Duggan this year.
All right, well, let's ultimately get to our predictions here. This game is being played at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Right in Ryan's neck in the woods. How far are you from SoFi?
I can probably like 5 miles-ish, 6 miles.
There you go. Just
maybe a little longer, but it's really close.
I assume that you're not going to shell out the hefty price for the.
I will not be spending that much money to go to the game.
You should go and see what the price is at game time.
That's true. Yeah,
and you can't tailgate apparently, so. That's out of the question.
What the heck, man?
Anyway.
Terrible.
So Georgia, like we said, I think throughout this episode a couple times, Georgia's favored 12.5, at least as of recording right now. We're going to release this, maybe a day later. But the VIG free money line implies a 21% chance of TCU winning. So I know people aren't giving them much of a chance, but 21% is not zero. 21% chances happen.
Yeah.
But the safe pick, obviously, is Georgia to win, and that's what I'm going to go with. TCU has been 6-1 in games decided by one score this season, so it took some luck to get here. I think it would take some luck again for them to ultimately win it all. Georgia's just by far the most talented team that TCU has faced, but I do think TCU can keep it close. I just trust this TCU coaching staff. I think Sonny Dykes and Garrett Riley offensively seem to obviously put together great game plans. I think with DeMercado at running back, even if Kendre Miller's out, he's done very well. Quentin Johnston, Tay Barber, Max Duggan's legs. There's just enough weapons on this offense that I think kind of great offense beats great defense. And so I think TCU can put up enough points to hang in there. Defensively, I mean, we saw even with the struggles McCarthy had at times, Michigan put up a ton of points against TCU. I think Georgia will do the same. But maybe without Darnell Washington, potentially, that kind of makes things a little bit easier. So I'll go final score prediction, Georgia 35, TCU 24.
All right. What did you say the score was?
35-24.
Those days, 35-24. Okay. Ooh, a little low scoring, I think.
I would go under.
All right. Well, yeah, so for this game, to me, it just... I don't know. I feel like after a few week layoff for almost a month a few week layoff for TCU heading into that Michigan game, they got a lot of chance to prepare, kind of, get ready for that game. I just feel like when it's only a week and it's a much quicker turnaround in back-to-back weeks, it favors the better team. The better team would come out on top more often rather than if you had a long layoff. So that's why one of the main reasons why I'm going to go with Georgia. I just think talent kind of wins in that scenario. Talent just takes over, and Georgia just has much more of it than TCU overall. TCU's had a great season. They battle like no other. I do think they're going to keep it interesting. I don't think this is going to be a blowout, but Georgia's too good. They have too much talent on both sides of the ball. I don't see TCU being able to stop them much on offense. So I'm going to take Georgia. I'll say 48-35, so barely cover the spread, but 13-point win there for Georgia.
All right. I've gone back and forth on this. I love Max Duggan. Would love for Texas Christian to make this an exciting game. But when looking at it, the Horned Frogs, they won that Michigan game largely due to benefiting from 2 pick sixes and 2 goal line turnovers by Michigan. I don't see that obviously happening again. I think the Georgia lines will play a little bit better than Michigan's. I know Max Duggan. He's proven that he can make plays with his legs and arm, and he will. They're not going to shut him down by any means, especially with the weapons they have and the way that Georgia's been a little bit susceptible. But I just don't think the Horned Frogs will be able to match strides with Georgia. I think the Bulldogs will get a few more stops than Michigan did. They're not going to turn it over. Georgia also went 2 for 10 on third down against Ohio State. I don't foresee that happening. And I think Stetson Bennett, he got a lot of confidence again. Those last 2 drives against Ohio State kind of maybe reinvigorated that offense. I think we get the Georgia that smothered Tennessee and not the one that we kind of saw against LSU and Ohio State. So I say Georgia goes back-to-back and beats Texas Christian. I'll say 40-24.
And I don't think that TCU with Duggan has the air, threat that Ohio State presented. Like Ohio State was able to expose with some couple of elite receivers in Egbuka and Harrison, a junior. TCU's passing game they don't have
it's
that.
It's not at Ohio State's
Stroud
level.
And that,
no.
It's not Ohio State's level, so I don't think they can kind of keep pace like Ohio State was able to.
Yeah, you might be right. There's been, I feel like the few sharp bettors that do share their thoughts publicly, whether on podcasts or on Twitter, it seems like they're favoring Georgia at this number. Like it seems like people.
Well, that's what I just said. So
yeah. Oh, so you're one of those sharps? Yeah.
I mean,
exactly. So, but maybe that means if you are betting TCU, like if I'm not actually putting real money, full disclosure on this game, but if I were to bet TCU, I would probably wait.
So then why are you telling others
I'm
to
not
bet?
telling them to bet. I'm just making my pick. I'm just entertaining the viewers.
Come on, Michael, put your money where your mouth is. Huh?
I'm not that confident in it. So, but if I were to bet, I would probably wait on TCU and maybe hope to get a little bit better number. Who knows?
Better number.
But anyway, that'll do it.
Either way, I hope it's exciting.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
the semifinal games were.
They were incredible. Yeah, if you're not a Georgia fan, obviously everyone is cheering for TCU because they're the big underdog, and you kind of need TCU to overperform for it to be a close game. So, yeah, I'll definitely be cheering for them to keep it close. So that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like the video. If give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you like college football. We're here all year round. We'll be here next week to recap the national championship. So we will talk to you then.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.